them out of your head, right, onto a piece of paper or onto a screen, and just notice, what is your brain telling you? And do you believe it? Do you want to accept it? Or do you want to pick something else to believe?
You're listening to the Decluttering Club Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mueller, and it's my mission to equip women to declutter their homes, their time, and their lives so that they can cherish what truly matters.
Today, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Decluttering Club podcast. Isn't this fun? I'm just really excited about this milestone. This is really, really meaningful to me. And I want to tell you why. And I have some questions that I want to invite you to spend some time with so that you can evaluate the past year that you've had and also evaluate what you want to create in your life going forward. Okay, but before we get to the questions, let me talk just for a minute about why this is so important to me. This is such a fun milestone. So now I got to tell you, when we started the Decluttering Club podcast, I had zero doubt that we would make it to a year. That was not even a question in my head. And this is one of the things that we teach in our done and dusted planning process. If you're a part of our membership, you may be familiar with this already, but we make our plans and we plan things out, and we account for challenges and obstacles, and then it's basically as good as done. And that's how I feel about the podcast. The podcast is something that I committed to over the long term. And, for actually up until this week, I never looked at the statistics because I'm not doing this podcast for like a million downloads. Although, don't get me wrong, I'd love a million downloads, but that wasn't why I was doing it, right? I am doing the podcast for you. And if one person gets value out of this podcast, that is fantastic and phenomenal. And if 1,000 people get value out of the podcast, then I'm happy too. But I wasn't doing it for for vanity metrics, which is really what number of downloads is, right? So I didn't look at the downloads, and I just was like, okay, what do we want to say? What do you need to hear? That is how I approach this every single week. And that is what we have done now for 52 weeks. And I think it's pretty stinking amazing. Super excited about it. So I want to share with you a little bit. I think sometimes we get really excited about the big flashy things. It's like, okay, we're going to go all in. We're going to, make a big push to do X, Y, Z. Maybe it's to clean out the storage unit, or to finally be able to park in the garage, or to tackle that scary room, right? We're going to go all in. We're going to go hard. We're going to go big or go home. And that is amazing. That is wonderful. That's a good thing. But I think we forget how important, maybe even more important, it is to do something over and over and over again, to keep showing up over time. That is where so much of the magic happens that we don't count on, that we don't even realize. We don't appreciate the value of doing something repeatedly over the long term. And that's what we do here with the podcast, but that's also what we teach inside of our programs, right? We teach a concept called Kitchen Zero, which is like doing at least one thing in your kitchen, and you decide what it is, and we have a whole process for that. But you do that every day over the long term, right? And the magic happens not because of exactly what you picked, but the magic happens because you do it over and over and over again. And then you do it again. And it's day number 72 and you're doing your Kitchen Zero. That's where the magic happens, because you keep showing up over and over and over again. And that's the wins, the benefits are compounding over time, and you don't see them at first. You don't see those wins stack up, but then over the long haul, you realize, oh my goodness, we've been doing this for a year. We've been podcasting for a year. We've got 52 episodes. Holy moly, that's incredible. Or, you've been saving, or you've been decluttering every single week for a year. Wow, that's amazing. And again, it's not sexy. It's not exciting to say, I've done this for 52 times. Sounds really hard, actually, doesn't it? But you don't have to put a lot of time in it. You just have to keep showing up. And there's magic that goes into that, I promise you. pick something and show up for yourself and for that thing over and over and over again and see what happens. I am a huge fan of journaling. If you've been around me for a while, you know that we love to ask ourselves questions. We love to kind of dig into the thoughts that are inside our heads because there's some crazy stuff going on up there. I don't know if you've noticed, but for me, I sort of think like if I am not supervising my brain, then it can tend to get out of control. And all of a sudden, I'm believing things that I did not even notice, and they are really steering me down the wrong path. So it's really important to take a look at what are the thoughts inside your head, get them out of your head, right, onto a piece of paper or onto a screen, and just notice, what is your brain telling you? And do you believe it? Do you want to accept it? Or do you want to pick something else to believe? I think a lot of times we think the things that are going on in our heads, that's just the way it is, right? Those are facts. And in fact, none of the things going on inside your head are facts. They're all stories. They're all stories, every single thing. So what that means is that you can decide whether or not you want to accept it or reject it. And even if it's true, right, is it serving you? Okay, but we're not going to go deep on that right now. But I just want to invite you to examine the thoughts inside your head. And so I pulled together 10 questions that I want to invite you to answer, to look back on the past year, and then also to look forward to the year ahead. This is something that you may do at the new year. It's real trendy to do this at the beginning of the year. But, by April or May, frequently people have forgotten and, they've kind of fallen away from that practice. So I want to encourage you to spend some time with these 10 questions and see what comes of it for you. This can be a really, really valuable practice for you. If you do this now, and then maybe you spend some time doing this on a regular basis. All right. And by the way, if you would like a printed list of this, you can go to our website, thedeclutteringclub.com/episode 52. And we have a list of these questions available for you to print out. Okay. Number 1. Oh, and by the way, if you are in our membership, make sure that you take a look. We do have a course called Journaling 101. That's in our upper level of membership, the OMH Complete membership. You can go in and we have all kinds of goodies available for you to teach you how to journal. Okay. So question number 1, here's what I want you to ask yourself. And by the way, don't just answer these questions in your head. I want you to answer them on a piece of paper, okay, or on a screen. I want you to type out or write down your answers, because when we slow down and take the time to do it that way, as opposed to just thinking about it, different things will happen. Okay, so question number 1. What accomplishment am I most proud of from the past year? What is it? Is it something great big? Or is it something little, right? It doesn't matter. Either way, you could be super proud because you did that one thing, on a Tuesday. And that was amazing. And it was really meaningful to you. What is that thing? Let's dig and find those wins. Now, a lot of the time it's really hard to find these wins. If you tend to be more of a negative, glasses half full kind of person, your brain may be like, we got nothing. There's nothing that I'm proud of. And I don't want you to let yourself off the hook. Okay. That's the lazy way out. And our brains are lazy. They don't want to think. It's hard. It requires effort. So I just want to encourage you, if that's what's coming up for you, if you're thinking, there's nothing I'm proud of, do not let yourself stop there. And I want you to sit with that question and require yourself to pick something that you are proud of. Okay. And again, you don't have to run a marathon. It could be that that you let go of something that was really, really challenging. Okay. Figure out, what are you proud of? Number 2, who did I enjoy spending time with over the past year? Who was that? Was it a coworker? Was it a neighbor? Was it your kid? Was it another family member? Maybe it was your spouse. Just spend a little time thinking about that. Because, again, we are all about less stuff and more life. That is why we are here. And that really includes all of our relationships. So who are you loving spending time with? And do you want to find ways and time to spend more time with that person? Or maybe you want to expand that and extend those relationships to new people. What does that look like for you? Spend a little time thinking about that. Number 3, What is one thing that I regret doing over the past year? Right? And then part two of this question is, how can I learn from that experience so that it becomes a positive to move me forward? Okay, what's one thing you regret, and how are you going to use that for your own benefit? Okay, we're all going to have things that we wish we hadn't done. We're all going to have mistakes. We're going to have things that we would have liked to have happened differently, right? Now, the difference between, someone who just makes mistakes and is like, oh, I guess I stink, and someone who grows is, how can you use that mistake to benefit you in the future? We only learn by making mistakes. Okay, so mistakes can be the fuel and the growth for something better in the future. Mistakes are actually how you learn, and you need them in order to make progress and grow. So figure out, what is that one thing that you regret, and think about, how am I going to use that? Like, what is the lesson here for me? It's really, really powerful. Don't waste this. Okay. All right. Number 4, what is one thing I'm glad I let go of, and why? Right? We are the Decluttering Club, and hopefully you are decluttering things. You're letting them go. They're leaving your house in whatever way. What is one thing you're glad that you let go of? Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to do this for years, and now it's gone. Or maybe it's like, that thing was such an eyesore, and I finally took the time to do it. Right? Figure that out and think about, why are you glad? Again, this is all learning. So then you can take that and then use that the next time that you want to declutter. Number 5, where has my mindset changed with regard to my clutter? All right. Now, if you've been with me for a little while or a long while, theoretically, you're changing your worldview. You're learning. Things are not staying the same for you, right? And a lot of times we don't notice the changes because they happen so slowly over time. So if you think about how am I different yesterday versus today, there's probably not a huge difference, right? But if you think back a year to, how did you think about your things? How did you think about the boxes or your house or whatever, your clothing? Think about your attitude towards that and think about, how are you different now? My guess is that you will discover, oh my gosh, I'm a world of difference now. Things are so different from the way that they were a year ago, and I didn't even realize it, because you were busy with the day-to-day. So spend a little time noticing that. What has changed for you? Think about that. Number 6, what is one habit that I will cultivate over the coming year? How can I support myself in making this happen regularly on schedule? What's one thing you want to do? Maybe you want to commit to a regular donation practice. Maybe you want to commit to doing your kitchen zero every single day. What is that thing? Maybe you just want to take a walk or drink some more water, right? I just have this new cup, and I'm telling you, this cup is like amazing for helping me to drink some more water every single day. And I've actually been measuring it. So, just like pick one habit that's important to you and then think, how can you support yourself in making that happen? Number 7, what is one thing I want to declutter in the coming year, and why? Right? Why do you want to declutter that one thing? Maybe it's that thing that's been kind of like in the back of your head. Oh, someday I'm going to let go of XYZ. Someday I'm going to sell that thing. I'm going to give that away. I'm going to, maybe this needs to go in the trash and you just need to handle it. What is it and why? And then commit to making a plan to make it happen. A lot of times when people start asking those questions, they think, well, is it okay to whatever? Is it okay to get rid of the blah, 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 right? If you're asking a question like that, that is a sign to me that you are getting close to being ready, right? Like maybe you're not ready today, but you're getting there. And so then frequently the answer is yes, it is okay to XYZ. So look for those questions that start to pop up in your head and thinking, how can I take some action and make this happen, right? The more we let go of, right? Less stuff, more life. More life is waiting for you on the other side of letting things go in so many forms. Okay, so think about, what do you want to make happen this year? Number 8. All right, One of our core values, right, is simple solutions, right? And what that means is we want things to be simple and easy. I think a lot of times we think it needs to be hard. We need to suffer for this. We need to work really hard. Well, this is not the case, okay? And so number 8, the question is, how am I going to enjoy my home and my life right now? Okay, now I'm not going to tell you to stop decluttering, right? I want you to declutter, but I also want you to enjoy your life right now. So what does that look like, right? Hashtag more life. What does more life look like for you today? Does it look like phoning a friend? Does it look like taking a walk? Does it look like sitting quietly, answering some journaling questions? Maybe just like sitting and petting your dog. I don't know what it is. Slow down and take a little bit of time to enjoy your life today, right? None of us are promised tomorrow. So I want you to enjoy today, and I also want you to work on your habits and your home. Okay, number 9. This is for me, but I'm making the list, so I get to put it in there. Okay, and the number 9 question is, which decluttering club training do I want to master next? We have so many things available to you, right? We have our core membership. We have our complete membership. We've got dozens and dozens of trainings available for you inside the membership. Or maybe you want to do one of our challenges that we have coming up. Maybe you've heard of the 28-day reboot and you're thinking that could be really awesome. I want to start, thinking about how can I pay for that? When can I make that happen? Right? So I just want you to think about that a little bit. Like, which one would you like to do? What's on next on your agenda, and how can we support you? And number 10, I love this one. This is my favorite question here. I left it for last. What is one thing I am treasuring right now, and why? Right? What is one thing that you just love to pieces? Right? And maybe it's a thing, maybe it's a physical item, maybe it is a memory. Maybe you're just enjoying that memory so much. Maybe it's a person or an experience, but what is that one thing that is giving you more life right now? I would love to hear what that is. In fact, if you want to leave a comment below this podcast, or if you want to go over on social and drop a comment, I would love to know about that. And make sure you tag me. All right. And again, if you'd like a list of these questions, you can go to thedeclutteringclub.com/episode 52. Okay, so episode and then the numbers 52. And we have the list available for you to print out. If you have enjoyed this podcast, would you do me a really quick favor and leave a review? This takes just probably 30 seconds. Let us know what you think of the podcast. This would mean the world to me, and you would be paying it forward to other people. I believe that there are millions and millions of people who need the answers that we provide in this podcast every single week. And when you leave a review or when you share this out to your friends in your network, those people have a much better chance of finding the Decluttering Club podcast. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. We will see you next week, everyone, with episode number 53. Happy birthday to us. Take care. That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, would you leave us a review? It would really help us get the word out. To start your decluttering journey, go to thedeclutteringclub.com. That is declutteringclub.com. We'll see you next time.